Welcome to the Fermented Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Anna, and on this channel I'm sharing our journey of learning how to turn our home into a homestead. Welcome to Canuary. We are about halfway through Canuary right now. I'm pretty excited to bring you this recipe. This is one of my favorite recipes, and it has become one of my favorite recipes to can. And I've canned this recipe one time before, and we've already gone through, and that was like 2 weeks ago, and we've already gone through probably about half of it. And I'm remaking the recipe because a very important part of the file got corrupted and the most important part of the video is gone. So I'm refilming it, but I'm not crying tears here because it's delicious. In fact, it is so delicious that I'm filming this video again instead of making something different. As I mentioned earlier, this is part of the Canuary collaboration that we're doing with Lisa over at Sutton's Days. This year for Canuary, there's about 15 different channels that are partaking in it. Most of us are gonna do 1 to 2 videos. We're about halfway through, so make sure you go back and watch all of the videos that have already come, and make sure that you watch all the videos that are coming in the future. There's going to be videos from, of course, the lovely Lisa over at Sutton's Days, the canning queen, founder of this awesome collaboration. There's also Prepper Potpourri, Linda's Pantry, Jenny Goff, Tululu Creates, Purposeful Pantry, That 1870s Homestead, A Good Life Farm, Our Hodgepodge Homestead, Acre Homestead, Alderman Farm, Freedom Homestead, Mouse Toes, and Diane the Canning Nana. So these channels, if you do not know these channels, you need to know about them, and I'm going to link all of them down below. Make sure that you click on all of those links down below. Go show those channels some love, some support, so subscribe to their channel and watch their videos because they are a fantastic wealth of knowledge if you're interested in canning. You want to make sure that you're commenting on every video that is part of the Canuary collaboration. You want to make sure you're watching them and comment down below, because at the end of this collaboration, Lisa's going to randomly pick one of the videos or one of the days. I think she's going to pick one of the days. It's like a random number generator or something for one of the days. There's going to be a random comment from that video that's going to get picked, and that person is going to win a 23 quart Presto pressure canner. That bad boy right there. So if you want a canner, if you don't have a canner, or if you just want a second canner, make sure that you comment on each video, because if you miss a video, that could be the video that gets picked, and you won't be in the drawing. So if you want to have if you want to have a Presto pressure canner, or if you just want to support all these awesome channels, make sure that you click on every single one of these videos. So I think that about covers everything with Canuary. What we're gonna do for this particular recipe is the amazing chicken tikka masala. This recipe it's not really Indian, but people call it Indian. It's actually a British recipe that is just called that because it has Indian type spices. But I picked the easiest recipe to convert over to canning, because a lot of Indian recipes, they call for a lot of dairy, they call for I wanted to do I wanted to do a buttered chicken recipe, but I couldn't really find one that didn't have cashew cream sauce type thing. And I just wasn't comfortable canning cashews because I don't know the safety data behind that. So if anybody out there in YouTube land has the safety data for canning but I guess specifically cashews, I would love to know about that, whether it's safe, whether it's not, whether it's untested, or whatever it may be. If you guys could leave that information down below, I really want to can some buttered chicken. For now, we're doing a chicken tikka masala, and we're going to tweak it just a bit for our purposes because we are converting this over to canning recipe. We are doing this recipe from thishealthytable.com. We want to get a full canner load of 20 jars. I have almost 10 pounds of chicken thighs, and so that's kind of what I came up with. So we're going to 6x this recipe. It calls for 2 shallots. I don't have shallots, and I'm not going to the grocery store, so we're just going to use 4 onions instead. It calls for a 2-inch piece of ginger. I don't have fresh ginger. Well, I have fresh ginger in the freezer, but it's with the peel and it's just for tea. So we're gonna use this. I got this lovely minced ginger. This stuff is so handy. I got this at Azure Standard, and I just love having this stuff on hand. I can have fresh, awesome ginger anytime that I want to. It calls for 1/2 cup of water. We're actually gonna use, oh, you can't see this, but there's chicken broth over here. We're gonna use chicken broth instead, just to bring in an extra level of flavor. And then it calls for 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast cut into 1-inch cubes. I'm not gonna use chicken breast. It has no flavor whatsoever. It's dry and I just don't like it. So we went to Costco and we got the boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And so that's what we're gonna use for this recipe instead. It calls for 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. I'm not comfortable cooking with vegetable oil. I don't even have vegetable oil in my house. The only sort of vegetable oil that I have is olive oil and avocado oil. And those are, you know, I wouldn't cook with olive oil. The avocado oil I would cook with, but instead we're gonna substitute, I'm gonna use ghee. And ghee is basically clarified butter. It's basically just pure fat. And then it also calls for 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. We don't have tomato paste, so we always use this. It's a tomato powder. We get this also from Azure Standard. They place a huge priority on food quality. A tremendous amount of their ingredients are organic. The ones that aren't organic, you know where they come from, how the food was treated, how it was raised, all of those sorts of things. Their spices are non-irradiated. It's just an awesome company to support. So I'll make sure to leave a link down below. If you're interested in clicking on it, you can also support the channel at the same time. And then the next ingredient is a 14-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. We do not have any crushed tomatoes, so we are going to use a combination of 3 cans of tomato sauce and 3 cans of diced tomatoes. This recipe also calls for ½ a cup of heavy cream. We do not can cream, milk, anything like that. It calls to add the cream like towards the end of the cooking process. So what's great about this recipe is we can get it all cooked up, all canned up and ready to go, put it on the shelf, and when we're ready to actually open the can up and serve it, that's when you're gonna add a little bit of cream to it, however much you want. The instructions for this recipe are a little bit unique, where we're going to take the onions, the garlic, the ginger, and about half of the chicken broth, and we're gonna blend it up in here to a nice puree form, and we're gonna set it aside. My blender is not large enough to be able to do this whole recipe as a 6x recipe. So we're gonna cut that into thirds, and we're gonna do this particular part of the recipe, we're gonna do a third of it at a time. And then we are going to get all set up and start cutting up all of this delicious chicken that we have. So we got those done. I also went ahead and blended up the diced tomatoes. That will help us in the next step. I learned that last time I tried this recipe. So I have the pan over here. It is on our portable burner, and I'm just using a cast iron pan. You don't have to use a cast iron whatsoever. You can use whatever kind of stove that you want to use. I have a cooked chicken pan. I have a raw chicken pan, and I have my raw chicken. Then I have a cutting board and a sharp knife. I have a couple of sharp knives over here on reserve in case this one gets dull by the time that we are actually finished with it. So let's get into this. We're back. I cut myself up pretty good. And it has taken probably half an hour to get it to stop bleeding. It's still bleeding. I tried to stop getting it to bleed. So I just put a big Band-Aid on it and covered it in my glove, so that I don't get any chicken juices in it, and so I don't get any of my blood in the chicken juices. So we're all cleaned up and we're ready to go for round number 2. One step that I totally forgot to do is before we cook the chicken, we're supposed to toss the chicken with 2 teaspoons of kosher salt and 2 teaspoons of garam masala. So We're gonna do that now after we've cooked it, and we'll just stir it up in a big old pot before we move on to the next step. And remember, this chicken is not cooked. All we did with this chicken is we just kind of cooked the outside so that it won't be all sticky together inside. And you can even brown it on the outside if you turn the heat up enough. I didn't do that. I probably should have, but I didn't. Okay, so remember, this is a 6X recipe. So we're gonna put in 12 teaspoons of salt and 12 teaspoons of garam masala, which is 4 tablespoons of each. There we go. Mix it all up with a wooden spoon. Okay, now it says to heat the remainder of the fat, and I haven't been measuring any of this. I'm trying to just get by with as least as possible to make sure that there's not too much fat in the recipe. I've just been adding it as I go. Maybe like a medium-high heat. Time for the onion mixture. Nice and slow, so we're not splashing all over everything. All right, we're just gonna get this hot. While that is cooking, we're gonna get the rest of our spices together just in a nice little bowl. So now we're gonna add all the spices in, mix it up, cook it for just a little bit longer, and then add in all the tomato stuff. I think I'm gonna have to go ahead and put this into a bigger size pot, because thinking about all these cans and the tomatoes that we have over there, I think I just don't have quite enough room in this pot to be able to fit it all. And I'd rather pour it into a second pot while it's halfway full instead of totally full. So we're gonna do that now. If I'm wrong, I don't care. That'll give us plenty of room. Sorry if you can't see as well. That was why I was using the other pot. So now we're gonna add the tomato products. It calls for a tablespoon, but we're 6Xing it, so that'll be 6 tablespoons of tomato paste. So we're gonna add 4 teaspoons of the tomato powder, and you can reconstitute this outside of the recipe, but we're cooking this for so long, I don't think it's necessary. It'll reconstitute just fine inside the recipe. Now, the blended up diced tomatoes and all of our tomato sauce. And I am going to add the whole extra can. I'd rather do a little bit extra of the sauce, and just because I want to make sure that I have enough to cover the whole recipe, I want all 20 jars filled if possible. If there's any extras, I'll just have an extra jar of it for whatever one of our first times we use the curry. So next, we're going to add in the other half gallon of broth. We want to make sure this is a nice, delicious, thin sauce. If I had the wand mixer, this would be the perfect place to use it. Just blend it up even further. It would be perfect, but mine's packed because we're moving soon. So I don't have that option, but if you do, and the next time I make this recipe, I will buzz this up even more. It's still pretty, you know, I don't have a high-speed blender. So in my opinion, the smaller the pieces in the blend, the better. So this is perfect for me. This is what I like. That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up, and we're gonna get set up for the actual canning jars. And to actually start filling up the canning jars, I'll bring back in just a second. Now that we have everything all set up, we got the chicken cooked, we got the sauce cooked, Got the jars set up, cleaned, rubbed the rim to make sure that there's no cracks or chips. They're clean. Got the clean debubbler. We got our ladle. This is what I like to use for a ladle. We got the vinegar and the paper towels that we can rub the rim with. We're ready to rock and roll and get this canning going. We also have the canner on the back, on the burner over there. It is warm, but not hot. I just have it on low so that when we put the hot jars in there, it will not crack the jars for the heat. Thermal shock, that's the word I'm looking for. It won't be a thermal shock for it. So, I'm gonna get a glove on and hands are washed. We're ready to go. That's the wrong hand. Okay, so I'm gonna bring you guys in close. I'm gonna show you one of these up close and personal so that you can see it, and then I'm gonna put you right back on your perch and we're just gonna rock through all of these super quick. So we're gonna start off with this guy right here. All we're gonna do is we're gonna fill up the jar a little less than halfway. Just because we're doing this one by itself. With the rest of them, we're gonna fill it up each one. We're gonna fill them up all the way first and just spread it out. I think that's a little bit too much. That way we can get even amount of chicken in all the jars. So roughly half, you know, if you're doing the whole batch, you're gonna do what I'm doing. And with this sauce, you wanna make sure that you're stirring it often because the onions and the particles can settle to the bottom. So we're just gonna give it a nice big stir here. Grab our jar, or grab our measuring cup. There we go. We're gonna fill it up to 1 inch headspace, which is right here. Right there. We're gonna start with our debubbler. Make sure we get all the bubbles out, all the air pockets. Make sure there's nothing going on there. Move the phone up to the next jar. Then, let's back you up a little bit here. Get a little more space, shall we? There we go. So we're gonna take the vinegar. We put it on the paper towel, and then we're gonna wipe the rim down here real well to make sure that we've got nothing on here, nothing on the rim. Then we take the lid, put it on here, and the ring. You want to put it on there fingertip tight, right? Which is as tight as you can get it realistically with these 3 fingers. Fingertips. There you go, and that's usually the perfect amount. So we got our canner loaded. We didn't quite get 20 in here. We only got 19. I wasn't thinking that we had the wide mouth and the narrow mouth. So it fits 20 of the narrow mouth. So in case you're wondering, if you want to win the canner, that's how many it fits. So next up, we're gonna check the seal on the inside, make sure it's good. It's good. We are going to look through this vent pipe here, make sure we can see through it. We're good. And then you're gonna make sure this thing goes up and down. You're gonna make sure that this piece here is in the front, because that is what this thing hooks into. Okay. On it goes. Tighten it on there and crank the heat up to high. So this is probably gonna take maybe 20 minutes or so before it gets up to temperature. And when this thing starts to vent, this thing's gonna pop up. When this thing pops up, give it another minute or so, and then this thing is gonna be billowing steam. At that point, I'm gonna set my timer for 10 minutes. When that 10 minutes is up, I'm gonna put this little jiggler on there. And then when this thing starts, the jiggler starts to jiggle, then we're gonna set our timer for 75 minutes. We're setting for 75 minutes because we have meat in here. And meat is the highest canned the highest time thing to can that we have in this recipe. So it is going to be 75 minutes for pints, 90 minutes for quarts. So we're just going to go ahead and do all of that, and I'll bring you back when we're ready to take these suckers out of the jar. Hi. And then, all right, so the canning session is done. We got our curry here out of the canner. You can see it's been in there for a little bit too long. Not too long, but it's been in there for a while. So it's not bubbling like crazy. The top weight thing went down probably an hour ago. Actually, more than an hour ago. Because it went down while I was doing my live stream, and I just watched Freedom Homestead's live stream, the whole thing. So it's been down for more than an hour, but it's still bubbling. Perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and we are gonna put this on the counter. We're gonna leave it on the counter where it is for at least 24 hours. And then at the end of that, we'll take the rings off, we'll wash these down, and I'll bring you back later on where we're gonna actually prepare this recipe for a dinner, and you can see what it tastes like and get some ideas of how to actually prepare this meal. We are ready for our taste test on our chicken curry. So all we're gonna do with this is I'm just gonna pop the top here. You wanna make sure you get that sound. That means it's nice and secure, or sealed, whatever. Oh, it smells amazing. So I'm just gonna add this to the pot. We're gonna warm it up, and then I'll bring you back. Ooh, ignore my fine china. It's delightful, isn't it? I think it's by the brand Chinette. We are getting ready to list our house in a couple of days, so all of our dishes are packed. So we're just making do. Okay. Tone you down a little bit here. So from this point, it is good as is. You need to do nothing with it. However, there are a lot of things that you can do with this. So I personally like to add yogurt to it. My husband likes to add cream to it. You can use any kind of cream, any kind of milk type product. You can use any type of milk substitute. Obviously, the creamier the better. You can add sour cream to it. You can pour it over rice, which is what my husband likes to do. I tend to like to eat it as is, and then sometimes I'll also put it over a sautéed or I'll cook in a sautéed cabbage, or I will cook with it some dehydrated cabbage. That's really good. You can pour it over like cauliflower rice. You can pour it over broccoli. You can pour it over zoodles. Like the possibilities are almost endless. So we're gonna go ahead, put some yogurt on here, and I'm gonna give you a lovely taste test. So it's basically just to give it some nice creaminess is basically what you're doing with it. And the yogurt, I think, gives it a nice tangy flavor. If you accidentally make it too hot for your liking, it will cool the heat. That is not why I'm using it. I actually really enjoy the heat, but we're doing what we're doing. Okay, so we got it kind of stirred in here. I'm so excited to try this. This is one of my favorites. I love curry so much. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is so incredible. I'm so excited to have this for breakfast today. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching how I like to can up some chicken curry. Also some ways that you can take recipes that you already like and know how to convert them over to some canning safe recipes. Make sure that you guys go and check out all the channels in the collaboration. Remember, they're all gonna be linked down below, so you can just click on it and it'll take you to their channel. You can check it out. I'm also gonna link the playlist down below, and that will take you to all the videos that have already come, and that's also a link to all the videos that will be coming in the future. So remember, this is running until the end of the month. The 31st is going to be the giveaway for the Presto Pressure Canner, so make sure that you stay tuned for that one. Comment on all the videos on the whole collaboration to give yourself the best chance of winning that Presto Pressure Canner. If you guys are new around here, make sure you check out this here little subscribe button right here. And then up here, there's gonna be a video that Google says that you're gonna like. And then this one down here is another one that is an amazing recipe. Make sure you check that one out. And then up here, you're gonna find a canning playlist. all of the things that I've canned since I've begun this channel. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.